it sounds, so good to be true. Buy 2 of these and you get this for a discounted price. And I'm going to tell you something. When I've gone shopping, the individuals that are financially stable, they protect their money more than just anyone else.
They add up all the interest that you didn't pay for that first year. So now that $500 TV ended up being like $1,500, like triple. But the feds have dropped the interest rates the last 2 meetings. I mentioned it earlier, they dropped it in September, they dropped it in November, and they're expected to drop in December. Do curbside holiday shopping. That way you only get what you need.
That someone posted a brand new car, has a big red bow on it. Yeah. Not everyone was able to pay for it cash. In most cases, we look at it, okay, we can make the payments. Yeah. We're making the minimum payments, but we're not looking at the overall negative impact that it's having on our credit scores.
More than money, it's about empowerment. Welcome to MSI Wealth Chronicles. My name is Ricardo Mendiola, and today we have a special guest, our operations manager at MSI, Vanica Anguiano.
Hi, everyone. I am definitely happy to be here and be a part of this.
Finally,
I know right? it's been a bit, right? But been on this journey with MSI for going on 16 years.
Yeah. Time flies, right?
Time flies.
I think what are you, the third most tenured staff member here?
Yep.
Who is the first? It's Joyce. No, okay, what? But I mean, Joyce, right? Joyce and Jay Kutch.
Joyce and then Jennifer Kutch, and then you. Myself. Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yep. Yeah.
But okay, so today we're going to be talking about 3 main points. Since it is a holiday season, we're going to be talking about budgeting for the holidays, credit management, and then New Year's resolutions. So let's dive right in, and let me ask you a really important question that I know our followers are going to get a lot out of, and that's discussing the importance of creating a holiday budget this season.
Wow,
Any tips here?
It's extremely important, especially not only for one's own personal well-being, but also like our clients and just listeners out there, is if you do not create a budget through the season in itself, you can overexert yourself, overspend, and not realize how much you're spending if you're not with a list and have a budget and plan. Yeah. I mean, think about all the text messages you're getting every single day with all these sales or emails that you're getting.
Social media.
It's just constantly in front of your face. And
now these days have you seen this? You could say AirPods, and then all of a sudden, it's so weird, right? You log into your computer and then advertising for AirPods happens. I don't know how that happens, but is it just me or does that happen to you?
No, it happens. It definitely happens, and it's conversations that all the time, and it's just like right in front of your face. But if you don't sit down and put pen to paper and really know what you're going to buy, who you're buying for, what amount you're going to spend, imagine how many purchases you don't make just because you got a flash sale. Yeah. Or it sounds, so good to be true. Buy 2 of these and you get this for a discounted price, and you'll catch yourself just buying things. And answer this. Do you ever go shopping? Be honest. Do you ever shop and it's such a good deal that if you're not doing exactly as planned, you catch yourself buying yourself stuff as well? So it can kind of get crazy.
No, I have a sister, and that's what she's doing all the time. She always, whenever we mention it about her spending a lot of money, she always says that she bought it on sale. And that's what I mean. That's what a lot of companies are doing. Everything's on sale.
Everything's on sale.
To try to get you to actually buy. So, but that's what makes her feel better is that it was on sale. Mm-hmm. But little does she know that it wasn't on sale. It was just marked up and then on sale supposedly. But I mean, there are some sales right now. And I guess that's another good budgeting tip is really knowing when things are on sale and purchasing at that time. Like I bought a couple of my Christmas presents during the Cyber Monday and Black Friday as well. So that definitely helped me out getting ahead of it. Spacing it out. I know it's a little bit too late right now because what are we? How many days are we away from Christmas? Like literally, I don't know.
13 days
away. Is it 13 days? Yeah. So I mean, planning ahead is kind of out the window now. But definitely for next season, that's something that helped me out this season is I started early. And usually I'm a last minute person, but this year I actually started early. And along the side of me saving money, it's also a little bit less stress. Already having everything picked out for the kids and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I like the tips that you gave. Anything else that you want to add to that on creating a budget?
I would say, obviously putting the pen to paper, but also like finding out exactly what put a spending limit.
Yeah.
Put
I think
spending limits.
that's key, and not going over. Because I mean, it's just a downward spiral. If you fall into the trap and you go over budget, and then you make a late payment, and then especially, I know we're going to talk about this here later on, but especially with credit card debt, we've talked about it in our previous podcast. Average credit card debt is like right around 20%. Some credit cards, I don't know if have you heard of any being at 30% or higher? I know there's some definitely 100%, like at 29.
I haven't heard of any over 30, but definitely right underneath that. Yes, of course.
So literally if you overspend and you leave a balance on your credit cards, trying to get that paid off with a 30% interest rate it's an uphill battle for sure. 100%. Swimming, against the stream.
And protecting one's finances and knowing exactly what you're buying, how much, your limitations are in spending. Sometimes it sounds so good whenever you're going to these stores, you're shopping, and no disrespect towards anyone out there that's working hard. Yeah. They're just not educated fully when it comes down to credit in itself, that when you go up to the cash register to pay, they're asking you to start applying for all these different credit cards. And for someone that doesn't have a budget and they're telling you they can save a certain amount of percentage or a certain X amount of dollars off the purchase if you apply for the card in itself, that's not even just getting approved. That's just applying. Yeah. And if you don't know exactly what that does to your credit and just applying, which is 10% of their credit score calculation, it's an inquiry. Yeah. It's dropping their scores, and here they don't know why, because the person sometimes tells them, oh, it's not hurting your credit at all. Yeah. So it's always not only having that budget for knowing exactly how much you have to spend, but also protecting your credit because it impacts it further down the line.
The only way that I would say, because I actually used it, we always advise our clients, exactly what Vanica just said, not to fall for that. You go to Banana Republic, hey, we'll give you a discount if you apply for a credit card. I typically always say no, but I will say there is a time where you could actually say yes. I actually did it not too long ago. It's whenever you know you're not going to use your credit. I forgot what store it was that I went to, and they were giving like a crazy discount if you applied for one of their cards. A crazy discount. It was like 40%. So I knew that I wasn't going to use my credit anytime soon. And so I knew the negative side of it, which you just mentioned, that you'll get an inquiry by applying. So that's 10% of your scores. But since I know that I didn't need my credit score in the near future, and then a 30% discount, I took it. I applied for that credit card, because of that 30% discount. But I would say, even if you're not going to use your credit here in the near future and they're only giving you a 10% discount, to me, right, it's all opinion, it's not worth it.
It's not worth it.
But I couldn't walk away from that. Knowing that I didn't need my credit, with a 30% discount, I was like, yes, let me apply for it. And I took it. It made a huge difference on the total, especially because it wasn't just one thing that I was buying. It was a lot of stuff that I was buying. So it made a big difference on my final bill. So, but yeah, that was really good. That a lot of people don't know is when you do apply for a credit card to get a discount, it is going to be an inquiry, and an inquiry is 10% of your credit scores. That's a good tip there.
And the big thing also about department store credit cards is not just a card you can use just anywhere.
Yep.
So it's good if it's, like you said, in a purchase like the one that you mentioned, but department store credit cards within themselves, let's say that you do take the step and you apply for that card, that's, in most cases, you can only use that card in that store or the ones that are tied to that chain. But that's about it. So in reality, is it really worth just those couple dollars that you're going to save?
And to piggyback on that, we always tell our clients this. Another thing is whenever you apply for a credit card, especially a department store credit card, that a lot of people don't know, is if you compare like a regular Visa, MasterCard, we always tell this to our clients, and you compare it to a department store credit card, what you always see the common denominator typically is that the department store credit cards have a smaller credit limit. And part of your credit score comes from your limit to balance ratio. And like, for example, I have a credit card right now. My highest limit on one of my credit cards right now is $65,000. So there's no way that I could get that at Banana Republic. There's no way that Nordstrom's will give me $65,000 that I know of. Anytime that I ask, because I make it a habit of asking for a credit limit increase on all of my credit cards. Whenever I get to department store credit cards, they always say no, or they give me $1,000 increase, $500. But whenever I ask, like, American Express, Chase, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, they'll give me $20,000 increase limits at a time, and that helps out your score. So I'm glad that you brought that up, because you got me thinking, when you mentioned that.
And not only that, but on the department store cards is one of the most common cards that we see that end up getting closed out because of inactivity.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not only necessarily like when you choose to close the credit card, the credit grantor, it being whichever department store that you got the card from, if you're not actively using that card, it gets closed out. So therefore, the length of credit history that you were building on that, it could have been for years, but let's just say this year you focus on not charging stuff on that card, it ends up getting closed out. So you really don't get to maybe set that up for auto payment on a subscription or things of that nature, because you're not always shopping at that store or within its chain. It gets closed. So there goes your credit.
Exactly. So real quick, can you walk us through any free resources maybe that you know of yourself, or that you've recommended to family members, recommended to our own clients? Any free resources that could help out our clients and our listeners on, budgeting for this holiday season?
Resources within itself is that you can always count on pen and paper. Pen and paper, definitely writing it down is one of the big resources. And we actually created a holiday budget planner that our listeners can go online and they can actually download the budget planner. So that's always a great resource. Another resource is, there's different applications like Credit Karma. That's one. It doesn't give you all three bureau information, but it does give you some insight on there. It tells you like whenever you've exceeded a certain amount on the balances that you're carrying, it tells you, it advises you to pay it down to see an increase in your scores. Also, your bank accounts, normally they're tied on there. If you have like a credit card with your bank account, it gives you resources on there. It tells you the same thing as Credit Karma, to pay it down, what your estimated score increase will be if you pay it to this amount. It's just always taking action on that. And in itself, as we continue to mature and get wiser when it comes to our finances and credit in itself, there's one thing that one always wants to do is you want to have fun playing a game. And when you start to really kind of treat it as a game and just say, you know what, how can I advance myself and making sure that I stay educated and stay on top of the game and have fun with it, is just treat it like a game. And so right now we're playing the holiday season game, but in itself, you're really playing the game of finances and
because it's
being
exciting.
responsible.
It's exciting whenever you get an alert that, your credit card limit, whatever, your credit card balance decreased, and you kind of make it a game and a challenge to try to get it to zero, because that's ultimately where you want to be at, especially with these, credit card interest rates that we were talking about, 30%. And of course, also knowing that our credit scores are affected by how much of a balance we have on our credit report.
I know one of the things like internally in office and even within family, and obviously whenever we work in the industry that we work in, knowing so much about credit in itself, we like to practice what we preach, right? And so whenever we're around family, the conversations of the next gathering, it's always like, hey, what's your credit score at? Or, hey, mine's at this, mine's at this or mine's at that. It's not ever belittling anyone. It's more of educating and letting them know, hey, this is what you have control over. This is what you don't have control over. And just kind of giving insight on that. And all in itself, just kind of helping one another out as far as budgeting. And again, like I said, you can always count on the handy dandy pen and paper and making sure that you're writing out what it is that you're bringing to the table. Because sometimes we go out there, and who wouldn't love to not have to look at a price tag when you're shopping or when you're looking at things? I think even in my mind, being that naive young girl, I would say, oh man, the rich people don't have to look at the price tags. And I'm going to tell you something. When I've gone shopping, the individuals that had, like are financially stable, they protect their money more than just anyone else. They don't care about the name brand. Exactly. They have it for a reason.
They know where every penny's going.
Yes. Yes.
And so real quick, you were talking about the budget planner. So this, kudos to our media team. You can find it on our most recent blog on our website. So www.msicredit.com. And I love it. I 100% love it. I would almost compare this to, I know that probably a lot of people can't relate, the people that are like the millennials and maybe before, right, balancing your checkbook. But it's kind of like you could say like that. You need to know where your money is going. So as you could probably see here, they just put on here one column expenses, income, savings. And so those are the three main columns, and then a summarization here. But yeah, definitely I would definitely 100% recommend this, because you have to know, you have to have a budget. You have to have a budget and you have to stick to it, because it could rack up fast. And I'm telling you, I'll say it again, I'm going to keep saying it. These interest rates on these credit cards make it almost impossible to pay them down. And then I looked up a statistic. Literally, as far as how many Americans, what percentage of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck, it's literally like above 70%. So, I mean, think about that. If you really overspend this holiday season and you just say, I'll figure it out next season, come the next season, whenever you do decide to start paying it down, if you're living paycheck to paycheck with a 30%, 25%, 20% interest rate, it will take a lot longer than what you're thinking. And maybe you plan on paying it off during tax return season, but I mean, things always happen. Things literally always happen. I mean, it happened to me the other day, but not the other day, here about a month ago, with my house. I think I told you a little bit, but if not, here it is. So I planned everything out perfectly. So we built a new home. Mm-hmm. And so I didn't want to move my family into an apartment, and then once my new home was built, move into our new home. So what I did is stayed in our new home, and then once our new home was built, moved into the new home, and now sell this home. But what I didn't factor in, this is what I did not factor in, is it was election year this year. Interest rates were super high this year. They've already went down twice. The Feds dropped the interest rates in September, and then they dropped them again in November. And then now they're dropping them again, hopefully, cross your fingers, December 18th. And so that's good, because consumer confidence will go up. And that's why the mortgage industry, the housing industry, real estate industry is so slow, because of interest rates. But on top of interest rates being so high this year, it was also election year. So I did not plan for that. And everything else I planned for. I listed my old house in the summer. Summer's always the best time to list. But anyways, so that was my plan, all thought out. But I didn't make a plan B, because I didn't think I would need a plan B. I thought for sure my home was going to sell in the summer, because it's the summer, right? That's the hottest time to list. And I listed my house, and it sat there. Like literally, nobody came the first weekend. And the first weekend in real estate, that's like the most important. I mean, your house is like the new kid in the block, mm-hmm. like the new kid at school. Everybody's excited to meet the new kid and whatever, right? So it's kind of like that in real estate as well. And it was dead. I listed in the summer, it was dead. And then you have to remember also too, I had two mortgages, my new house and our old house, 2 utilities, 2 of everything. Mm-hmm. So anyways, it didn't sell, and I didn't plan. It didn't sell when I wanted it to. So anyways, that really caught me by surprise. And I'm relating that to this, right? Things could happen that you don't plan for. Yeah. And it could take you, I was scrambling around, because I mean, think about it. 2 mortgages, 2 utilities, 2 of everything. Our money was going down quick. And finally, we made a plan B. We're like, okay, maybe we have to lease it. It's not selling. Let's put it up for lease. Let's see what goes first. Will it lease first? Will it sell first? We'll take whichever happens first, because whichever happened first, either I lease it or I sell it, it would stop the bleeding of us having 2 mortgages, 2 expenses, whatever. But anyways, long story short, it did finally sell. It sold after 2 months, so way longer than expected. That was not in my plans. My plans was 1 month. That was worst case scenario. It'll sell in 1 month. And then we went 2 months and it didn't sell. But anyway, so it had me scrambling around. So I can relate that to, as we're speaking about this, if someone has a plan of, I'll go over budget, it's okay. I'm not even, or even if you didn't set a budget, and you're going to pay it off during tax return, man, things happen all the time. I mean, we went over it on previous podcasts, but I mean, you need to have an emergency fund, because emergencies do occur. And that's something that we're going to talk about here a little bit later on, unexpected expenses that could, happen, this holiday season that maybe you didn't plan for. And that's why it's important that you have a budget for your, for this holiday season. But yeah, did you have anything else that you want to add about that? About the like free resources that anybody could utilize this holiday season?
I would say, other than the ones that I mentioned, I know there's a lot out there as far as like exploring. Those are just kind of the ones that I stick to, and having, and just the resources of what I log into each and every single day. But most importantly is knowing exactly. One knows what you make, and you know what your expenses are, and just stay structured, stick to it. It's a beautiful thing when you can practice what you preach. We are human. We do go through life. Life does happen at times. You know, you get those unexpected curveballs that get thrown at you, and like even for yourself, you've known. And you do that, and it's like, okay, great. But the great thing is that you at least went back to the drawing board and say, we got to figure this out. Some people get so stuck into the not sitting down and planning it all over again to know that there is another exerted way out. And to share a little bit about my background before I came on board with MSI, I can't believe it's already going to be 16 years. But I used to work in the rent-to-own industry, and we used to sell it off to where you could go and buy something and make minimal weekly payments, bi-weekly payments, or monthly payments. And it sounded it sounded doable, right? To make those payments. And when it came down to rent to own on the credit cards, if you don't pay attention, you can be paying on that forever. Yeah. And one of the things, the selling points that we had is, well, if you make minimum payment on that, you can go buy a TV. At the time, it was like you could go buy a TV, and you can put it on a credit card. And it sounds so good that you say, you know what, I can handle the monthly payments. Yeah. So monthly payment on, let's just say $25, $50, right, on a purchase, and everyone says I can do $25, $50, and that sounds so good. When we would always tell them, do you know how long it's going to take to pay that off if you just make minimum payment? Because you're not calculating the interest that it's rolling over. Yeah. And on average, a consumer could take about 7 years, was the study at that time when I was doing rent to own, to pay off one purchase. Now, realistically, how many times do you go just buy that one thing on that credit card? Yeah. You don't. You go and you keep buying. And so when we were selling these things, you could pay it off in 6 months and 12 months and a year, 2 years. So it sounded so much better than committing to a credit card. And yes, that worked out for some. But if you don't have a plan and you don't put pen to paper and really budget it out, you can get yourself caught up into a trap sometimes.
Have a plan B. It's funny that you mentioned that, because that happened to me years ago, probably like 20 years ago with Cons. Cons had, probably similar to what you're talking about, they had something where, and it was during the holiday season, buy this, you could pay the minimum payment of $25, but in 1 year you have to pay off the balance, right? Something like that. And so anyways, the year went by, unexpected stuff happened, I didn't pay it off. And so now they like charge you, they add up all the interest that you didn't pay for that first year. So now that $500 TV ended up being like $1,500, like triple. I was like, man, and talking about, just trying to get ahead, stuff like that will put you behind for sure. It will put you behind. And that's what we're all trying to do. We're trying to get ahead. So you just got to be smart.
Yeah, be smart and educate yourself in the purchases that you're making, because if not, you get caught up in making minimum payments. And when you go, and it's funny because it's like, again, when you learn to play the game, you go out to make these purchases, they'll sell you on, this is the monthly payment, minimum monthly payment, and you have no interest, but you have to take into account, you take that purchase and you divide it into, if it's a 12-month promotion, those are the payments you need to be making to pay it off by that promotional end time. If you don't divide it, let's say the promotional payment is supposed to be $100, but you're making a monthly payment of $25 because they, in reality, they want you to get stuck with the interest. So they want you to make the monthly payment of $25. And it's your responsibility to be educated
and do all the calculations,
and break that down into 12 months and actually pay the $100 versus the $25. Does that make sense?
That's exactly what I did. I paid the minimum and not divide the amount by the full balance to have it paid off within that year. Boom, they got me good.
So you have to have a plan, and you have to make sure that if you do make those purchases that make sense for you in your life right now or in this season right now, just remember to not forget and having to overpay later on. So that's a thing. Again, whole handy pen and paper.
And a lot of companies are taking that strategy. I'm not trying to overkill this subject, but one of my friends actually mentioned that to me as well. They bought a new HVAC system. I didn't even know they did that. They took the same strategy.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
You could have this new HVAC system. You could pay, I'm just making this up, $100 a month, and the balance is due in 1 year. Well, guess what? She paid the $100 a month. Let's just pretend that was the minimum amount. And then the 1 year came up. And, well, you know what? The 1 year came up, it's not that she didn't have the money. She forgot about it.
That's the game. Yeah, that's what they want you to do.
She did have the money. She just forgot about it. So let's say on the 13th month, right, when she realized it, that her balance increased on the HVAC system. She went back, see if she could do something. Hey, I'll pay them full right now. I have the amount. And guess what? Nope, because that's how they make their money. And they would not. And that's why she called me to see if there was a way that she could get out of it.
There's like, no mercy.
Yeah. I was like, nope, that's how they're hoping. They're praying on that, you know? And so, yeah, so a lot of different creditors are taking that strategy there. I mean, HVAC company, I was like, wow, they're doing it too. I was like.
And it's you can't get mad at them for that's how they make their money. We just have to make it more of a priority to stay on top of things, to educate ourselves about the purchases that we make. Exactly. Because some of the purchases that you make, I mean, I've seen some places where no payments in 5 years.
Yeah, yeah. Because if you execute that, like the HVAC system, what you were talking about, your store cons, and you do pay it off within that time, it's phenomenal. No interest and stuff like that. I mean, back to what you were talking about earlier. If you know how credit works and you use it to your advantage, you leverage it, oh man, it could do wonders for you.
Yeah, I've made purchases for my own sake in my home where, washer and dryer is out and you go in and make the purchase and it's zero interest as long as you pay it off within this time. Well, because of my experiences and because of my education and learning and practicing what we preach, I know what I have to do. Yeah. And so because of that, we take pride and joy in educating and providing the tools and information needed so that no one has to fall into that trap. And then sometimes if you fall into it because life happened, life happened. We got to pick up the pieces and keep it moving. And that's what we're here for. And
kind of like we say, more than money, it's about empowerment. I mean, it truly is. Here's one last story real quick that I just thought about when you mentioned that. My sister, I've told you this before, but I was like, oh, that's so clever. Now I use this strategy all the time. I saw her, let's say she has a $10,000 limit credit card. Everybody's probably heard of balance transfers. Your credit card will say, hey, you could write yourself a check or you could transfer $10,000 right now to your checking account. And so that's kind of like what she did. She did a balance transfer for a vehicle because her daughter, my niece, needed a vehicle. And she was just smart about it. Instead of going to the dealership, financing that vehicle with them, right? Okay, 5 years, 6% interest rate. What do you end up paying at 5 years at 6% interest rate? I mean, I don't know what the total would be, but it's a lot more than the strategy that she executed. And the strategy that she executed, let's say the car was $5,000. She did a balance transfer for $5,000, paid for my niece's car in cash. Usually, credit card companies, balance transfers, a good transfer fee that they charge you, a good one, is 3%. If you get under 3%, you did great. But I would say it's anywhere between 3 and 5, 3's on the low end, 5's on the high end. So that's what they typically charge you, 3%. So $5,000 times 3%, what is that? What is that? Is that 1,500 or is that 150?
Is that 150, isn't
I don't know.
I'm like, I used to be so great at numbers just like that. But you know what?
$5,000
I stick to what doesn't lie is my calculator.
It's probably 150. Think about that. So she bought that car and all my niece is having to pay in interest is $150.
Wow.
If she would have took it to the dealership, financed that vehicle at even 5%, even 4%, even 3%, finance that vehicle at 3%, let's say, for 4 years, 5 years, she would have paid a lot more than $150.
Most definitely.
Yeah, I thought that was brilliant, and I've actually used that strategy as well. I was like, oh, that's so smart. And here I am in the credit industry, been in it forever, and I never thought about that strategy. And now I've used that strategy for other things. So
didn't you buy a house on a balance transfer?
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah,
that was so awesome. I remember you.
Yeah. It was with the strategy.
It was a strategy.
Yeah. So it was. I think I've talked about it in a podcast, but I think it was my first flip. So if you don't know, on a home that is distressed, the bank won't give you the money. So you either have to pay for it cash or a line of credit, or there are some lenders, but not regular traditional lenders, that will lend you that money, but it's going to be more expensive because of the higher risk. So anyways, I didn't want to get a hard money lender. I didn't want to get a non-traditional loan, which is expensive. I wanted to pay for that house the cheapest route possible. And I don't know, I think it was with one of our employees. Remember Brian? Mm-hmm. So anyways, long story short, I think the house, let's say they were selling for $150. So me and one of our staff members here, we split it into, okay, you come up with 75, I'll come up with 75. I think I had like, I don't know, maybe like, let's just pretend $40,000 cash. Okay, so now I'm short $35,000. So I did a balance transfer for $35,000. So now I had my $75,000, his $75,000. He did it through a hard money lender. Boom, now we have 150. We bought the house in Plano for 150. We rehabbed it with credit cards. Let's say we put 75 into it. So what is that, 225, I think it is? So 225, and then boom, we sold it for like 350, 375, I think it was, after we fixed it up. It didn't even hit the market. As we were fixing it up, people always drive by. I put a sign on it. That's one thing that I did do. I got ahead of everything, and I put a sign on it. And just from having the sign, people passing through and asking about it. Yeah, we sold it before we even completed it. Yeah, so yeah, funny story. Yeah, I ended up buying a house with a
that's the best transfer. Gift you can give yourself is educating yourself during the holiday season with these finances.
Yeah, but it could also get you in trouble. Yeah. I mean, I've heard stories where people do a balance transfer, and now they're just kind of juggling debt. They didn't plan it out, and then they end up getting in trouble, because the balance transfer is similar to what you were talking about whenever you were working at the furniture store. It's 3%, no interest. All you pay is 3% for, let's say, 1 year. A good common one is 1 year, but you need to have that money paid off within 1 year. Like my niece needed to have that $5,000 paid off within that 1 year. But it's easy. Just plan for it. Kind of like what you were talking about earlier. What they do, $5,000 plus your, what did we say the interest was? The 3%?
The 150.
150. So $5,150. My sister told her daughter, okay, you need to pay $429 a month for 1 year and you're good. And she did that. Yep. And it even helped out too, also in another sense, because the balance transfer, they're typically 1 year, no interest, right? She paid off that car in 1 year. If my sister would have taken her to the dealership 4 years, 5 years, her payment would have been lower, of course, but you know how we all are. Would she really have made extra payments to try to pay it off, sooner? Probably not. She probably would have taken the whole 4 or 5 years, and of course she would have paid a lot in interest. Yep. But good stuff. Thank you for sharing that. So let's go on to the next subject here. Let's talk about, let's pick, which one should we go with? Let's do this right here. So what are some creative budgeting strategies that our listeners could use to stay on track this holiday season?
As far as for the holiday season, I would say budgeting strategies through this time of year is get in contact with the family members, whether you're hosting or whether you're going to go to someone's house for the holiday season. I would say when hosting, it can get expensive if you host a holiday season, especially a family on your own. Yeah. I've done that on my own, previous years. But what I would say is getting in contact and communication, because you can do potlucks when it comes down to holidays. Yeah. Make sure everyone brings
versus
a dish.
You just hosting everything.
Of course. And it's just, and it minimizes also the stress, where you can actually enjoy and
That's a good one. Never thought about that
be present.
Yep.
Because I think it's one thing when you're hosting things during the holiday season, and you're hosting it, you're just kind of all over the place. But when you actually host it and everyone commits to bringing something, you actually get to be present and take in all the experiences and making the memories of what the holiday season is supposed to be about.
Versus running around like I was for Thanksgiving. I was, because we had it at our house, and I was just running around everywhere. But I don't know, I enjoy it sometimes too.
Yeah, it's fun hosting, but it's less stressful when you're not having to do it all on your own. Yeah.
Here's something that we used: white elephant. We did white elephant, and then we did white elephant for the adults, and then we still got the kids. We're still going to get the kids gifts. This is a big whole as a family, right? Like everybody, my whole entire family. And then for the kids, we're still doing gifts for each kid. But we set a limit. I think that's important. Hey, on the gifts this year, let's set a limit. Like we did, I forgot what it was, like $25, I think it was, for the kids, for the kids. But then for the adults, we did the white elephant. So yeah, that's another one there.
A white elephant can get really fun.
Yeah.
Very competitive.
Yeah, like the one that we had here, right?
Yeah, we do it here at the office, and it's always fun. But yes, that definitely helps out, and also sometimes making gifts. I mean, what are some things that you kind of cling on to or hang on to as those memorable gifts that someone actually made? with themselves or.
Yeah. I mean, people say those are typically the most thoughtful ones, you know, and it's true. Like my daughter's, when was it? Maybe it was a birthday. I don't know. But they got me a little, like a coffee cup, but then they went to go make it at the, whatever you call it. What are they? I don't know. But they have them all around. You can just Google it. But I never heard of those. Like you could go in there and like ceramic. They just have like a white, you know, coffee cup. They have a white plate. And then you just go in there and
draw on it and write on it.
And then you leave it there, pick it back up in 3 days. And whenever I saw it, I was like, wow, this is awesome. So now we've given them to everybody. Hey, make one for grandma for her birthday. Make one for great grandma for her birthday. We've been giving those out a lot. But that's a really good one. You know, making it like homemade gifts. They're typically less expensive and typically the recipient enjoys it the most. Yes. Yeah, that's a really, really good one.
So when people come over to my house and they say, oh, I love your dog, I was like, okay, great. You're going to get a painting with her paws on it for Christmas. So, I mean, it's just making those things. I don't know if you've seen like the holiday parties or as well, like where you can go to the dollar stores, you can get those canvases and just start painting, like having a paint party and maybe like exchanging those as gifts or I don't.
Yeah.
Have you seen where people have gotten like sweaters or hoodies and then they put like paint on their hands and everyone goes and they hug and they're leaving those like as far as it's a hoodie or a sweatshirt that they're making and now it has like everyone's different handprints and things on there and imagine reflecting on that as much as the reality that we don't want to sink into that. At times you're having family over 1 year and the next year you have family that's no longer there and then imagine making something like that has so much sentimental value that there's no dollar that you can put on that's going to have more meaning.
Yep. And back to like homemade gifts. This is from your idea, Cricut. We use a Cricut like crazy. Well, I don't. Patty uses it a lot. I mean, she's making stuff for holidays. She's making stuff for birthdays. The other day she made something for the team. My little Eliana's soccer team. They wanted to make hoodies because it's cold and they're always practicing outside. And then Patty made these really cool sweats. She just bought the sweatshirts on Amazon and then used the Cricut and put their logo there. It looks so good. So yeah.
And doing crafty things like that, I know sometimes some individuals says, I don't have the craftiness skill. You'll be surprised how much things you can get creative in making and doing. And it's a de-stressor. Like sometimes it just gets you to just be calm and it de-stresses you from your day-to-day activities and doing something different. And what more meaningful of doing it with a family member and then gifting those things. I think sometimes we don't give enough value to the things that we can actually make on our own.
Yep, 100%. But that's a great one. That's probably my favorite one. The homemade gifts. That's a really good one. I'm bad about that because it takes a lot of time. But I will say when I do it, like you said, it feels really good. It feels really, really good whenever you finish it and give it to whoever. I think because of all that time that you put into it.
And when you see them opening it up and them actually being able to enjoy it and knowing, especially when they know that that's maybe something that you would not normally be doing, that you're probably someone that maybe you can easily just go purchase something, but that you actually sat down, took the time to make it with your own hands and put thought and love into it, it's more valued and appreciated. I can't tell you how many gifts I haven't received in the past years to where I received something and I know that they obviously worked hard to get the money to buy it and to gift it. But how many times have you not gone into your closet and there's something that still has tags on it that you haven't even worn that was gifted to you? And it's not that you didn't like it. It's just that because where it was placed in your closet or you placed it, you didn't prioritize it. Yeah. But when something was made for you, you're like, oh, like that coffee mug. Yeah. How much more how much more do you enjoy drinking your coffee in the mug that your kids made for you? And I think the people, and then we'll go on to the next subject though, but I think the people that do it the most, I think, are guys, right? I think what it is, because this is my problem, speaking for myself. So if I'm speaking for myself, then I bet you this happens to a lot of other guys out there. We wait till last minute. So if you wait till last minute, what happens? You just got to go online and that's how it gets expensive. That's another good tip for, this holiday season is get on it like now, because think about it. If you get on it early enough, you could price shop. You could price shop versus if you wait till last minute, like for example, even us, we're doing our like little holiday party, you could say, next Friday. I should have done it. I should have thought about it earlier, but we always do a raffle. So I told Sonia, one of our team members, like, hey,
she gave me some ideas of what kind of gifts to get. But I was like, okay, those sound good, but do they deliver by this time, for next Friday? But anyways, don't wait till last minute, because then you might be mercy, like I am, and at mercy of the delivery, even if it's more expensive, right? But if you do it ahead of time, maybe you don't pay shipping fee, maybe you have time to price shop. And then kind of like I was saying, whenever you wait till last minute, you're not going to make something probably if you wait till last minute. Usually that stuff takes a little bit longer, a little bit more time. But if you do get ahead of it, you do have, enough time to price shop. You do have enough time to make the, homemade gifts that, typically are a little bit more meaningful, I would say.
More meaningful.
Yep.
Now, can you share the tip that you had shared with me about price shopping? Because not everyone knows how to price shop. So how easy is it to price shop now?
Okay. I think I know which one you're talking about. Yeah. I take this one for my wife. It's probably the same one that you're talking about. What do they call it? Google Lens? Is that what it is? Yeah, Google Lens. So yeah, you could, I know you guys have probably heard about it, but if not, do it. I've been using this one like crazy. Take a picture of whatever, and then just go to your Google. You'll see like a little lens on the search bar, and then from there you could upload that picture, and Google will go find that wherever. We've been using that thing like insanely, like even for everything, but like we used it a lot. We use it a lot still to this day, but we used it a lot for our house. The builder recommended this lighting company. This lighting company said $6,000 for this lighting for our foyer. Took a picture of it. Boom, $2,000 over here, like that. It's so awesome. That is probably.
I have used it tremendously since you told me, and especially through the holiday season when someone tells you that they like something and obviously it's sold out, right? Or because you come across some of that stuff, it's sold out, and that image it helps you shop for the next best thing that maybe similar or looks like that or whatever the case is. But, and even saving me some money, so that's what it's all about, is saving money.
Me and my wife always play around like competing, stuff like that. And she was always finding the best deals. Like, what are you doing over there? Like, how are you finding it so quick? And then she told me, I was like, man, that is awesome. I'm using it a lot. Do you guys use it a lot? You do? Awesome. Yeah. It's that was a really, really good one.
Yeah. So but that's a way to save money. I don't think a lot of individuals know of the resources that we have at hand at times. Like I didn't know. I'm so thankful that you shared that. So thankful to your wife.
And you know what? I'm glad that you mentioned that. That's probably going to be the number one take that I wish you guys could get if you're not using it already. Google Lens, use it. It changed our life. But yeah, that one is a phenomenal one. I'm surprised we didn't have it in our notes. So thankful that you remembered about that one.
Great memory.
That's a good one. Yeah. When's the last time you used it?
Oh my goodness. When did I buy it? When did I use it last? So I bought with the holiday season that we just came from, obviously Thanksgiving. It's like a hot box where you keep the food, where it keeps the food warm. And I was looking to see, because you can get crazy on buying that stuff. There was one that was like $600, and I was like, okay, I don't need that kind. So I used it and it found me something similar. I think it was a little over 200 or whatever, but it does the work and just keeps the food warm. And I know there's food warmers, but it's like when you're prepping all this food, you don't want it to kind of go cold and take longer. So it was very convenient. And
aside of just savings, it's also like this morning, I took a picture of a Christmas tree at the gym. So aside of just, finding it for the best, finding the best deal, it's also just finding it in general, right? Because whenever you go, like for example, let's say Google Lens did not exist. How am I going to find this tree where's it at? How am I going to find this tree, that I saw at the gym this morning, right? How am I going to find that? Well, I don't know how you're going to find it. But now with Google Lens, boom, real simple. It'll find it for you. It's at Michael's, it's at whatever, So aside of just saving money, it'll find it for you. It saves you time. Yes. That's worth more than money.
Yes.
But okay, let's jump on to the next one real quick. So let's talk about the importance of credit health and how improving your credit score could benefit our listeners, this upcoming, new year. So any tips on that you have?
Improving your credit health overall, I would say helps you regain financial control.
Yep.
If you don't have financial control, it is definitely achievable, but it's all about going back to the basics. And the basics tells us knowledge is power. Mm-hmm. Well, you can have all the knowledge in the world, but if you're not applying it, it means absolutely nothing. Yep. So applying the knowledge and education about credit within itself, it's definitely empowering.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And so you have to make sure that you know exactly what you're buying. What are you buying it for? Is it really important? Are you giving yourself limits? Because at times, sometimes, especially during the holiday season, I see many of us, and I've been guilty of it myself. So when I speak on this, it's personal experience as well, is sometimes you're just overspending. And it's like, for what? You can give the same joy to someone unwrapping a gift that is of X amount versus one that is of high amount. And sometimes it's just the sake of just unwrapping. And all overall is just giving yourself the ability to apply the knowledge and education of your overall credit health, because it does give you financial control and being able to do things when you least expect it. Sometimes you may not need the credit right now, but you never know when time can happen, life can happen. And life happens to the best of us. And it doesn't happen on our time. It happens on the time that it just chooses to happen, right? But just think about...
And it happens when you don't want it to happen.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a really, really good point. Being prepared, right, for needing your credit. And that was going to be the next thing that I was going to talk about. One way that I could see you needing to be ready for opportunity to be able to use your credit is interest rates. So interest rates are super duper high. But the feds have dropped the interest rates the last two meetings. I mentioned it earlier. They dropped it in September. They dropped it in November. And they're expected to drop in December 18th. And so when they do drop them again, December 18th, the interest rates they're dropping is all the interest rates in general. So credit card interest rates, it has effect on all interest rates. Interest rates on personal loans, it just trickles down on everything. So anyways, a lot of us have, if you bought a vehicle over the past 2 years, if you bought a house over the last 2 years, guess what? With this interest rate drop that happened in September, November, and now December, guess what? The opportunity to refinance is going to happen.
That's amazing.
And if you racked up a bunch of debt because whatever reason, right? This holiday season, and because 30% of our credit score comes from debt, so that means that if you add debt to your credit report this holiday season, your scores are going to drop. And so your scores drop, and then now interest rates continue to drop, and you want to seize the moment, seize the opportunity. You go to try to refinance your house, and they might say two things. They might say your credit score is not high enough, or they might say your credit score is high enough, but your DTI is not good enough. DTI meaning debt to income ratio. They want to make sure, because that's one thing that I don't like about refinancing a house. I would love it where, let's say right now you have a house and you're paying $3,000 a month. And this might go a long way for our listeners, because I used to think this. And I think a lot of our listeners think this because a lot of our clients think this. So if you have a house right now and you're paying $3,000 a month, all right? So you're wanting to refinance. Let's say rates drop next year and they're in the I don't know, you have a 6% interest rate right now, they drop to the 5.5. It's going to drop your payment from $3,000, I'm just pretending here, to $2,500. You want to seize that opportunity. You would figure, right, if the bank is going to give you a new payment of $2,500, why does he have to do any research on you? If you were able to afford $3,000 a month, don't you think that you could afford $2,500 a month? Yes. Why do they have to go do research on your income to see if you could afford it? You have a track record of paying $3,000. Your new mortgage payment is going to be $2,500. You could afford it. But guess what? They still do research to make sure that you can afford it. So that would be devastating. Someone racks up a bunch of debt, and not only do they drop their scores, but they also affect their debt to income ratio. So now they don't qualify for the opportunity of refinancing their house because of whichever one of the two, their debt to income or their credit score. So yeah, that's another example of being ready for opportunity, because you know how it works. Typically that's typically whenever it happens, right? You don't prepare, you rack up debt, and then the opportunity comes to save money, and then you can't take advantage of it because of what happened last year. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's typically how it always happens, right? You're maxed out, and then what do you know? You have two blowouts the same day, or whatever. Your HVAC system goes out. That's typically how it always happens. Things happen whenever you don't want it. It always happens when you don't
expect it.
Yeah.
That's when it happes. And just a little insightful on here, and I know it's not deviating too much off topic, but you mentioned as far as like the DTI. And one of the things, as far as in the time and season that we're in right now, the holiday season, always kind of preparing for the new year as well, is that some individuals, and I say this because we have clients and not only clients, but family members, people acquaintances that we have that are close, that at times make decisions when it comes to finances. What's the one thing that some people choose to also do when the year comes to an end is they starting to sometimes change employments.
Yeah.
Sometimes we're in the day and age where a lot of people want to be their own boss and have their own business, and that's cool.
Yeah.
Fulfill your dreams, whatever it is that makes you happy. But also, if you have the goals of regaining financial control, maybe like buying the house and things like that, get educated, educate yourself on what you need to have in order to make that purchase. Because if you go from being a W-2 employee to now being your own
Yep. Like, you're self-employed, then
yes.
then you have to have 2 years of tax returns. Yep. Kind of like we say back to our whole like slogan, you could say it's more than money. It's about empowerment. I mean, I would rather take knowledge versus money, because empowerment, knowledge will get you money, in the long run.
Of course.
And even in the shortcomings too.
And that's the things is that, and people tend to tie holidays with also in the season to the end of the year and trying to get onto the new goals. And I think that's a big thing. And again, the best gift that you can give yourself is knowledge.
Yep. 100%. Anything else on I was talking about the being ready for the opportunities, right? And I mentioned more mortgages, but that's everything in general. Right now, we all have, if you bought a car last year, we have a high interest rate on a vehicle. Did you mention that you were looking at buying a new vehicle, right? But
I kind of paused it, and I was like, you know what? You don't really need a new car right now. It's good. Saving money is good. Seeing the bank account and savings account rack up and stack up, it's a really good thing. Yeah. But I wasn't liking those interest rates. I mean, when I bought my car, it was at a 0.9% interest rate. And so when I started shopping for the cars, even with having over an 800 credit score, it's good. It's good to know all the work that you put into that. The interest rates, I did not want to pay. Yeah. I don't want to pay a 5-6% interest rate. And I know
is that what
ideally
it was how long ago was that?
That was it was about last year. It's been a year. Okay. So I haven't really visited that again. They're
probably about the same, because since then they went up, but they kind of like I just mentioned, they went down just because September and then November and then. But I mean, they're predicting, right? Nobody knows. They're predicting that they're going to continue to go down. So I think I'm telling you that there's going to be an opportunity for everybody. So be ready, have your credit ready. Like this year, we didn't, we like to invest in real estate. We didn't buy any houses at all this year, and part of the reason that the cost of money is so expensive, so we didn't buy anything. So, but next year we're getting ready for next year, because next year, if they do what they say they're going to do, which is continue to drop interest rates, then it'll be a lot more affordable to buy a house, whether it's your homestead, the home that you're going to live in, or an investment property. So back to the vehicle loan that you're talking about. Yeah, I think next year you might be able to buy a vehicle. I don't know what that threshold is for you, like at what interest rate, because they're not predicting to go down super low back to where it was like the COVID days. But
the good old days.
Yeah.
But I just think, again, it's just about also realizing, is it really a need or is it a want?
Yeah.
And
because it's nice not having a car payment, right?
Oh my goodness, yes, so amazing.
Yeah, I went from not having a car payment with the vehicle that I had prior to this one to having a car payment, and I'm like, man, I can't wait to pay this thing off, because it makes a big difference.
Okay. And it's good, like seeing everyone with the new vehicles and all that good stuff, and kudos to everybody that has that. But at the same time, it's like I'm not living up to their expectations. I'm living up to my expectations, and I think that right now in this day and age, there's so much comparison. Especially with social media at our fingertips. Everyone says, oh, they just got a new car. I need a new car. No, do you really need a new car?
Yeah.
Do you really need a new car? Do you want a new car? And so it's just kind of making so like what makes sense to you?
Yeah.
Like what makes sense to you for your finances, for your goals. And again, and tying it to this holiday season, what makes sense for you?
It would almost be better if it's America, though. That it's that's what America is they say, right, the best country to live in. But anyways, I remember as a little kid, now I don't know if this has changed, and maybe maybe you guys know, but in Mexico, I remember that back in the days, whenever we used to go, whenever we were a little kid, you couldn't finance a house. Like you had to pay cash. Like, what, you have to pay for a cash? America, you could finance anything, everything and anything, vehicles, everything. And that's how all these businesses make money. They make it so easy for us. The most common consumer, where they look at, they don't even look at the amount that they're buying it for or the interest rate. Where they look at the monthly payment. That's what people do. Can I afford it? Yes. That's first, monthly payment, which in general you could say the interest rate.
They don't look at the overall total.
or if it's a good deal or not. But the way that, the microwave era, just America, right? We're looking more at the payment. And I see it happen a lot with I'm a realtor as well. And I see a lot of realtors do this. And that's smart. It's so smart. But it's a marketing plan to intrigue the consumer. Whenever they do social media advertising on a house that they listed, right? They're not putting, $899,000 for this beautiful home, right? They're putting what the down payment is, right? Like let's say the down payment on that home, I'm just pretending here, $25,000, right? $25,000 will get you into this home. That sounds more enticing than putting $899,000, right? They know the way that a consumer thinks, and that's a lot of real estate advertising that's going on right now as well. So it's just so easy here in America. It's so easy to you can finance everything, Now even for health, they're financing everything. Everything. You can finance everything for health, right? Like literally everything.
Even to take your dogs to the vet.
Oh, yeah.
You can use your Care credit card if you need to.
Yeah, it's brilliant for business. That's why America, that's why there's so much money revolving, and exchanging hands and because of the clever, marketing ideas
marketing
that they have.
Strategies that they have. And that's the thing.
But be careful not to fall into that. But what were you saying? Sorry.
No, it's just the constantly staying in the know. Staying in the know and not make those impulsive purchases.
Yes.
I will tell you, one of the things this year alone, when I remodeled the house and I became an empty nester this year. So it was a little life-changing for me.
Yeah.
But having money and sometimes at your fingertips and having good financial control and being able to establish savings, again, it's not anything that I'm bragging about. It's just something I am proud of because I've worked so hard to build that. And so you have to be proud and applaud yourself and celebrate yourself on the wins that you have, because how quickly can you get down on the downs, right? You got to celebrate your wins. And in COVID also, during COVID times, I saved so much money not going out there shopping or anything like that, but then online shopping became a thing. So I ended up having Amazon warehouse in my garage. Yeah. It was so bad. Have you ever gotten packages where you end up saying Merry Christmas to myself because I don't even remember ordering this? Or you have to go look to see what you ordered because you didn't even know that it existed. But you can get caught up in that trap of doing that and just overbuying to where it can be cluttering. You can create clutter in your own home, even with new things. Yeah. Things that are still in boxes.
Yeah. And you know what? Thank you for just talking, because you gave me another good idea that's talking about, everything that we're talking about. Another good budget strategy that you could do is, I haven't used this one, but I know it's I guess you could say a good idea. Just like you do during the COVID days, right? You started seeing a lot of, what do you call it? Whenever you pull in and they have they'll bring it to your car. What's it called?
Curbside.
Yeah, curbside. Mm-hmm. Now they have curbside for everything. So shoot, one of the things that saved us a lot of money also is that curbside for our just our actual groceries, right? Because now you only get what you need.
Yes.
Okay. So I didn't even think about that till you were speaking right now. Maybe you could do that for your Christmas shopping, because they do it now. Like I went to Dick's the other day. I was buying something on Dick's. At Dick's online, and then shipping, curbside, or pick up at the store. I was like, oh, they have curbside. Boom, curbside. So I just thought about that right now, just from you talking. That would probably be a really good strategy. Do your if it's a store that does curbside, Target, Walmart. Tons of stores do it now. Do curbside holiday shopping. That way, you only get what you need versus being out there. You know how it is, all the stuff in the end of the aisles and all the specials that we were talking about earlier.
Yes, no, they get you with the end caps, or whenever you're walking into, or when you're walking into the cash register, they have it's like the little maze that you have to go through in order to just pay. Yeah. And it's strategic because they're trying to get you to buy all those little last final purchases. Yep. Oh, you know what? Oh, this looks cute. Yeah. I think I need to buy this. And it's all strategic.
So curbside holiday shopping, you heard it here first.
There you go.
I'll play it. But okay, real quick. So let's talk about the dangers. I think this is a big one. Maybe we could, help out our listeners steer away from just, putting a bunch of debt on their credit cards. So let's talk about like the dangers of just racking up your credit cards with a bunch of debt. We talked about it a little bit, but let's emphasize it a little bit more. What would you say is the dangers of racking up a bunch of credit card debt this holiday season?
I mean, first and foremost, the amount of points that you'll end up dropping in your credit scores alone and maximizing the debt that you owe. You know, 30% of your credit scores come from the amount of debt that you carry. And so therefore, in most cases, we look at it, okay, we can make the payments. We're making the minimum payments, but we're not looking at the overall negative impact that it's having on our credit scores. So taking a dip on your credit scores no longer has you having financial control, that you now have to know, like, do I have some financial goals that I'm needing to meet or looking to meet here soon? How quickly can I pay this off in order for me to be able to be qualified and approved for this? Not just pre-qualified, pre-approved, but to be approved for it. What is it that I can do? And
it's a spiral effect. Here's something that maybe you guys have never thought about. But let's say you do rack up your debt. Let's say you rack it up by a lot. You max out your credit cards. So I know probably nobody's doing that, but let's say someone does rack up their credit cards this holiday season. So what happens, you just mentioned it right now, it drops down your scores. A lot of people don't know this, but credit card companies could do 3 things whenever your scores drop. And a lot of you guys don't know this either. So they're allowed to do these 3 things, but what determines if they do these 3 things? I'll cover them in a second. But what determines whether they do these 3 things is your credit score. Credit card companies they do. They view your credit scores every month. So it's not a hard pull. That's why you don't get an alert through your Credit Karma, your credit monitoring service, that they looked at your credit, but they look at your credit report. They look at your credit score every month. It's a soft inquiry. And then if your scores drop and you become a higher risk to them, they could do these 3 things. They could increase your interest rate. They could decrease your spending limit, or 3, close your credit card. So a lot of you guys, maybe you haven't seen them do these 3 things, but let's say you max out your credit cards this holiday season. I know nobody's doing that, but let's say you do. You might end up seeing these 3 things, and now you'll know why they did it. It's because they looked at your credit score in January. Your scores dropped because you maxed out your credit cards in December, and now they did one of these 3 things. They increased your spending limit. You were at 20, now you're at 30. Now you're in a deeper hole. The hole that you put yourself in, now it's going to be even harder to get in. They could actually close your credit cards. They're afraid. You're higher risk. They're afraid. They're like, oh shoot, this person.
You're just living off of credit itself.
Yeah, this person is going to, is going, in a down spiral, right? And so they could close your credit card, or they could decrease your spending limit. So, I mean, that's devastating. I mean, because there's sometimes where, let's say they close your credit cards. That happens. They close your credit cards. And now a true emergency, because shopping for the holidays with your credit cards is not an emergency.
No, it's not.
But now let's say come the beginning of the year, an emergency does occur and your credit cards are closed. There you go. I mean, now you're going to have to go to, plan C, D, whatever it might be, borrow money from a family member or anything like that. So once again, I'm glad that you mentioned that, because it gave me the idea of bringing that up, that could happen. That a lot of people don't know about that, but that could happen if you do end up decreasing your scores so much that you become a higher risk to your credit cards.
Yeah, and again, it's all the things that we have control over if we just really get to understand and knowledge is applying the knowledge that we have. And because, I mean, there's a lot of resources at our fingertips, but it's really, really taking it serious because it's more than just saving money for the holidays. It's overall, making a holiday every single month for yourself, knowing that you have some like a cushion, a security cushion and things of that nature. I mean, especially like this time in season, how many times are you not going to see on social media that someone posted a brand new car, has a big red bow on it? Not everyone was able to pay for it cash, but I mean, we have our clients, and this is no disrespect to our clients. I'm just saying this is who we speak to on a day-to-day basis, and they'll call us and they'll say, my credit scores just dropped. What did y'all do? Oh, there's not anything that we can ever do that will cause anyone's credit scores to drop. It's about what amount of debt they're adding onto their credit, or are they getting late payments or anything like that. But in this case, they go buy a brand new car. What's the average cost of a car nowadays?
Probably like 30 probably, I would say.
About
probably.
30,000, 50,000, 60,000, like 60,000, depending if they're getting a car or truck. And so they just.
I said 30. I was thinking more minimal.
Yeah.
Average is probably about 50.
About 50. And so therefore they just added $50,000 or $30,000 of debt onto their credit. It's not. Obviously, it's not negative. It's something maybe that they needed or maybe they wanted. But here they are. It's debt that's being added onto their credit, so their scores tend to drop. And even though they feel they didn't do anything wrong, in reality, depending on what kind of goal you have, you know.
And for me, like the thing that I would want to emphasize, I've said it a couple of times already, but you just got to always remember this: the amount of interest rate. I mean, I'm telling you, like. I didn't know that credit cards could go that high. They should set a limit. They should literally set a limit. I mean, like right now, I think the highest that I've seen is like 29%.
I've seen 29 for sure.
How long is it going to take you if you rack up $5,000 this holiday season at 29%? How long would that take you? And you were talking about earlier, right? How it's awesome. You know, you got to the other side. It takes hard work. It takes hard work. I was going to piggyback on what you were saying earlier. How it feels good, you know, how you've budgeted and you could say you've made it to the other side and your credit score's in the 800s and just the way that you're, you know, moving around money, you know, budgeting your money and stuff like that. It takes time. It takes time. Same thing for me. You know, back, I mean, I don't know when, but like 2004 and prior, I had bad credit. And so, you know, finally in 2004, when I decided, you know, let me roll up my sleeves and get this done. Because if it's going to happen, it's all up, you know, to me. It's not, no one else is going to do this for you. So it takes time, boy.
Most definitely.
Depending on how big of a hole you put yourself in, I put myself in a big, big hole. It took a long time, but you just got to stick with it. Stick with the plan. Yep. And that's why Dave Ramsey says, like whenever Dave Ramsey says the snowball effect on credit cards, he always says pick out the credit card that has the least balance. And the reason why he says that is so you could hurry up and pay that one off. So you could feel that win.
That sense of accomplishment, the celebration of the win.
Because you need that. You need that.
You definitely need that.
So that pretty much wraps up, you know, everything that we wanted to cover with our listeners. I hope that you guys got a lot of great information from it. You reminded me of a lot of stuff that like Google Lens, you know, I haven't been using it as much. The curbside, I never thought about that. Curbside holiday shopping, because I do still have a little bit more shopping that I need to do, just a little bit. For more, my immediate family, I got it. Nieces, nephews, and all that stuff. I still need to work on that.
There's one big thing that I give you a lot of credit for educating me many years ago.
Which one?
Is about like the rewards credit cards.
Oh, yeah.
So obviously kind of learning and through this journey and being a part of what it is that we do, you taught me a lot with rewards credit cards. And our debit cards don't reward us for using them. So there is some positive insight, not just a fear factor of these credit cards, but it's knowing how to, again, play that beautiful game, the beautiful credit game, and utilizing it. So maybe you can kind of share a little bit of what you shared with me back then with the rewards credit cards and the positive side to that.
I mean, you got to just cover it around now too. So as we all know, you know what? Someone corrected me the other day. There are some debit cards out there, some banks that actually do give you some rewards when you use their debit card. They're not like they are with credit card companies, right? But they are. I heard there's some banks that are rewarding you. But for the most part, when you use your debit card, they're not giving you anything in return at all whatsoever. When you use a credit card, most credit card companies, and if your credit card company is not doing this for you, you should definitely find one that is. And more than likely, you already have one. You're just maybe using the wrong one. So find out what credit card gives you the most reward for using it. And most credit cards, the most common one would be what, like they give you like a point for each dollar that you spend. So you spend $10 somewhere, you get 10 points. You spend $100 somewhere, you get 100 points. And then now those points accumulate, and a lot of stores have like an online shopping store where you could pretty much buy everything. I mean, American Express, they changed it up. They used to have like an online shopping store. Now they don't do that. Now you go to their site, and through their site, they direct you to Best Buy, they direct you to Apple, they direct you here. But I guess through their coding and cookies and stuff like that, you know, they know that you got it through here, through that, whatever. But anyways, they allow you to shop at Best Buy through your points. But anyways, I'm glad that you brought that up because I used my points here recently for Christmas as well. I got a couple gift cards to give out for Christmas, and I used my points. but they have everything. They have everything. In certain credit card companies have everything. You could use gift cards, electronics. I mean, anything. I mean, have you been using it here lately? What do you use your points for?
I most definitely use it. I've used it for instances like emergencies, like security cushions, or even like for holiday seasons. Yeah. You don't feel any guilt in spending something that I know that we worked hard for it, but it's a reward for a reason, right? Yeah. So I do reward myself. I go get my nails done. Yeah. I'll just whatever it is that I continuously spend. Sometimes that's my treat. Yeah. I guess I look at it as a way to treat myself, but in the holiday season, so that way I don't try to overexert myself. I'm like, throughout the year, the game that I like to play is how many rewards dollars can I gain in order to be able to use that for holiday shopping. Yeah. And so that in itself is fun because, I mean, by the end of the year comes, it's an ongoing contest also out on the floor, speaking to the team members and stuff. But one of the guys has over $3,000 in just rewards dollars alone. Wow. I mean, think about how many miles some people can, if you have a miles type credit card that you build up miles, how many trips are you going to be able to take this holiday season? Or are you going to go visit someone to where you were able to use your credit and not have to pay for that flight? Yep. Right. Yep. So there is a positive to it as well, not just a scary side, but you have to know how to play the game in order to do that. And you have to also know what you're spending, how you're spending it, and what you're putting it towards. I'm
glad you mentioned that because I think that's a great tip, because I know that there's some people, you might be using your credit card right now and you don't even realize that you have reward points. I've heard stories like that. Well, what, really? What? And then they go look, they come back, what? I had 300,000 points, because they've never, ever used it because they didn't even know that they had it. But yes, most credit card companies do offer rewards, because if they don't offer rewards, they're going to be left behind with their competition, because that's what determines what credit card I use. Mm-hmm. Literally, I use one card, and it's the one that gives me the most rewards. The one that I use the most is an American Express, because they give me the best rewards. Because sometimes they run whatever you call them, promotions or specials, whatever. Use it to buy this, and you get 1.5 points. But that's a good strategy. Definitely 100% is go look to see if you have any reward points, and maybe use your reward points so you don't have to use up your cash. Mm-hmm. So that's a really, 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 really good one.
Going out and dining with family and friends. And I mean, you do it a lot more during the holiday season sometimes, but I'm telling you, that's like the best tip that you taught me many years ago. And I'm sure you don't remember, but I appreciate you for that. And going out to eat, even going it doesn't have to be just during the holiday season, but again, it's happening more now. That you have the tab, right? And so I just put it on my card, and everyone just starts sending me their money. Because guess what? Yeah, they're paying me for their meal, but I'm racking and stacking up points and getting dollars on this purchase that is just going to be put on my card. That I know I'm going to pay off immediately. So again, you have to be strategic, and you have to pay it off immediately. Have the intention of paying zero interest, because that's the game that you're playing. Is you're having the game that you're playing is knowing that you're not carrying the debt, so you're not dropping your scores in that area. You're gaining a reward for it. And then you're obviously paying on time. So that's the game of life. But
definitely, I'm glad you mentioned that, but definitely don't do this. Because watch, there's two things that remind me of what I'm about to say. So definitely, I've heard some people say this. Oh, I gotcha. I'll get rewards. Definitely don't go seek debt because you're going to get rewards, right? Kind of like you mentioned earlier. The strategy that you mentioned. You go out to eat somewhere, everybody's trying to figure out how to do it, whatever, make it hard on the waiter, split the tab. You voluntarily, hey, just Venmo me the money. Here, everybody send me this, and then they give you the money, and then you get all the points. That's smart, right? You're going to pay it off. But there's some people out there that I've heard, right? Oh, I got you. I'm going to get this. I'm going to get reward points anyways. It's not worth it. It's not worth it if you're going to use it that way. Another common thing that I hear, you've heard this one too, and I just cringe whenever I hear this one as well, is with, let's say someone has a business, or not even a business. Let's say they're just self-employed, and they buy something. They buy an electronic that they didn't need. They buy a camera. Oh, I'll just write it off. And then they buy this. I'll just write it off. Like they say that thinking, I think, that when you write it off, that it's just like, let's say you made $100,000. It's not a dollar for dollar write-off. If you buy something that costs $5,000, let's say you made $100,000 and you spend $5,000 and it's a write-off. Now what happens is what? $100,000 minus that expense of $5,000, that equals $95,000. Now you pay taxes on $95,000 versus $100,000 because of that $5,000 expense. You didn't save $5,000. That expense that you bought, that's a write-off, wasn't a $5,000 savings. It didn't end up being free because it's a write-off. I think a lot of people, maybe it's newly, self-employed people or newly business owners, they think it's a dollar for dollar write-off. No, it's not. And same thing with your points. You should never just rack up debt because you're going to get a point. It's not worth it. It's just a reward. It's like what it's called. It's a reward. You use it. You let whatever 6 months, a year, whatever it might be, and then you look, you're like, wow. And then you treat yourself with the trip. That's what I use mine for mainly is trips. Typically, I try to make all of our trips, paid by our points. But now it adds up because we have a family of four. So now some trips I do have to pay for.
Not as easy as it used to be.
Yeah. Before all my trips were paid.
But at the same time, you're not spending as much as you normally would.
Exactly.
Without that. So yes, being strategic about it and being intentional to pay it off immediately. Being strategic again. It's all it comes down to. To doing it wisely.
Yeah. But thank you for your time today. Thank you for coming on today. I know that our listeners and our followers got a lot of great information from what you had to say, what you had to share. Thank you for watching MSI Wealth Chronicles, building legacies one episode at a time. Thank you for tuning in. Hopefully you guys will tune into our next episode where we're going to be talking about New Year's resolutions and then setting financial goals and how to accomplish those financial goals.